welcome to Dare Down Ballers. I'm your host, AJ Bramlett, and my super producer, Ryan Wall, with me again this week. Ryan, it was a good week for Arizona basketball, man. I'm excited to jump in. Let's do it.
Yeah, Arizona was 2-0 this week. They beat Colorado, they beat Utah, and with the help of some losses to some other top teams, USC, UCLA, and Baylor, Arizona is now ranked third in the country in the new AP poll rankings for the first time since the 2017-18 season. I mean, how do you feel about this, AJ?
Man, I mean, it's to be honest, it's surprising, man. We got to be honest here. It's like us talking before the season, like we thought they would have a good team. We thought, they'd be playing, play some good basketball, but to get to number 3 in the country is just pretty incredible. I know Coach Lloyd doesn't care about that or really like that right now, but everybody else, I mean, it's proud, and I'm proud, and I'm happy that the hard work and the chemistry that these guys have put in this year is paying off. So it's good to see them moving up the charts, and I think they deserve it. I mean, they've answered almost every challenge they've had this year, and they've continued to play well when other teams have lost. Even this week, with USC and UCLA losing, like they were able to take care of business. So they've done what they needed to do so far this season, and hopefully we'll just keep it rolling, man.
Yeah, Tommy Lloyd gave a nod to Nick Saban and called it, referring to it as rat poison. Not trying to just keep the team level-headed, that they still have work to do. He said they have to overcome some adversity. We'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, AJ, what do you think? You just mentioned how they got here so soon.
Yeah.
Only about halfway through the season, and they still have to play UCLA and USC 2 times. Hopefully, the USC game at USC hasn't got made up. There hasn't been a makeup date for that as it got canceled just a few weeks back. But they're playing UCLA in a little over a week at UCLA, which still is a very tough game, no matter where UCLA is ranked. So yeah, what do you think about that? How do you think they're gonna match up? And do you think if they take care of business twice against UCLA in the next few weeks, they could potentially move up to number 1 in the country?
Yeah, I mean, the number 1 spot hasn't been very stable, the whole season long. Pretty
Nope.
much everybody who goes to number 1 usually gets knocked off that week or the next week. So, they have a good opportunity. I think the UCLA game is going to be, I mean, we've all been waiting on that, obviously, this entire season. And it's too bad that it got pushed back. I'm hoping that there'll be able to be fans there. I don't know if there will be. I think that's going to be a real deciding factor in the game. For them, it's hard to play without fans. It just is. And so, but I think we have the right team to be able to respond in that type of environment, self-motivated and motivated by Coach Lloyd. But it's going to be a great matchup. We've been waiting for this, the entire season, and UCLA's had some ups and downs the last couple of weeks, but UCLA Arizona is always the biggest game on the schedule, for each of them each year. So both teams are going to be ready to go, and I'm just excited that we're finally at least have a date that we'll be able to, be planning for that matchup.
Yeah, and AJ, let's get into it. Arizona's first game of this past week was on Thursday. It was against Colorado. It was a kind of a pretty ugly game by both teams. Arizona was 1 for 11 from 3 in the first half. Finished the game 35%. They picked it up a little bit, but I mean, what'd you think of the game? They won by 21 points, and it was a big game for Pelle Larson and Justin Kier off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, it was a kind of a slow game for Arizona. Couldn't get things going right away. Colorado was playing really well early on, and but really Pella, like you said, Pella and Justin had great games, and that's what we're looking for them coming off the bench. When they can provide that kind of scoring, spark and really energy spark off the bench, it's always a good thing for us. And so the more that we can develop those guys, and those guys get more comfortable in their roles and more confident, especially on the offensive end of things, because I think they both do a great job on defense. It's just going to be a big help for us as we go down and stretch in the Pac-12 and start getting into tournament time, where we can have more scoring firepower coming off the bench. That'll be a big help for us.
Yeah, it seems like a recurring issue for this team is their 3-point shooting and the turnover issue. That they've had some great games in both areas throughout the season, but it seems like it's hard. They find it hard to get over that hump consistently. What do you think they can do to improve on those 2 issues?
I mean, the turnovers I think is going to be it's going to be there all season because of the way that we play. But there's certain certain turnovers during the game that we can definitely cut down on. There's certain high risk passes that we make sometimes that we don't need to make. If we can just cut 3 or 4 or 5 of those turnovers off a game, we'll be in good shape. But they play at such a fast rate, and we want to be aggressive so many times on offense that sometimes we're going to turn the ball over, and that's fine. But in terms of like I haven't it hasn't happened too much this year. We haven't in crunch time, and there hasn't been too many crunch time games, but in times of the game where we really need to take care of the ball, I think we've done a pretty good job of doing that. But that's where we really need to, really hunker down and make sure that we kind of change that, and make sure that we're in a good space moving forward. Because at the end of games is when you really need to value possessions, and that's going to really, determine whether we win or lose on some of these big games coming down on, especially on the road when you're playing in a tough environment.
Yeah, and you mentioned closer games. Let's move on and talk about the game versus Utah. Arizona did win by 18 points at the end, but they were down by I believe 6 at the highest during the first half. Only up 3 at the first end of the first half. What do you think of this game? And I'll just get into it now. The elephant in the room. Kerr Kriisa did not play in this game. The team said before, like right before the game had happened, that Kerr would be out due to precautionary reasons, non-COVID-19 related. And then after the game, Tommy Lloyd said he was quote unquote horsing around before the game. He said others were involved, didn't name any names, and said Kerr was injured. That's why he was held out. But he did not mention what he injured during the game or during pregame, and mentioned that he will be back in practice this week and should be ready for the games this week.
You know what, man? These things happen, and I'll tell you a little story about horsing around and messing around. Like when you're on a team with a bunch of guys, you're gonna wrestle, you're gonna mess around. You know what I mean? You're gonna. And when I was at Arizona, we would always shadow box and mess around and box. And we were playing at the rec center. We were getting our runs in and playing. And Mike Dickerson and I would always shadow box and play around and mess with each other. And this time we were just messing around shadow boxing, and I caught him right in the nose, man. And I broke his nose, and I felt horrible. Mike D had to wear a mask for like a month. I was like,
It's a good
oh my, I
story.
was like, no, but like, and that's where I learned my lesson with stuff like that. It's like, because when you're on a team, like stuff like that's going to happen. I'm sure it wasn't anything malicious. It was probably just, guys messing around. But hopefully, it's a learning lesson. It's a teachable moment for Kerr, and he learns from it, because I learned from mine, because I felt awful, man. I apologized to Mike D, 10 times a day, every day for a week after that, because I felt so bad. But that's going to happen when you're on a team, especially a team with good chemistry. Sometimes things like that happen. Hopefully it's nothing big, and we can move on and get Kerr back. Because, and then talking about that though, I thought the team did a heck of a job, and it was hard. It was kind of a slow game. It was a struggle. Utah was playing really well. We couldn't knock down any shots, and but I thought it really showed the character of the team, and especially let's talk about Big Zoo, that he was out there
Yeah.
doing his thing, like, and he was the guy that. And the more I think about this, and I'll get your thoughts on it too. I've been watching him over the course of the season. We've always been like, Dalen Terry is the guy, that brings the energy and is the difference maker. Kirk Kreese is the difference maker. But the more I've been looking over these weeks, they play the best basketball when Zoo is playing his best. And, when he's been able to score the ball consistently and make plays for other guys and really be, that rock in the center that they need. I think that's when they play their best basketball, is when he's playing really well. I don't know what you thought. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, everyone talks about all these other players. Terry Coloco is having a phenomenal year. Same with Matherin and Creasa. But we said it from the beginning. Jules Debello has been the rock on this team for the last 2 years. He's the most consistent player. He had a few down weeks or a few down games. But he bounced back in a big way. And I feel like the two areas that he improved the most this year is his passing and his defense. I feel like he is a very underrated passer. He
Yeah.
finds Coloco a lot down low, finds guys outside for three. And his defensive ability it's just been very good. I mean, he's averaging over a block a game compared to less than a half last year. And he really has been just impressive. And I wanted to get your take. Do you think this was the best game for Tabellus as a Wildcat throughout the past about year and a half now.
I think so, and I think because it was needed the most. You know what I mean? Without that performance, like that game probably would have went down to the wire, to be honest, because of the way that Utah was playing. The confidence that they were playing with, and just not having Krisa in that game. It was the right time for Zoo to have that game, and he did it, and he did it on all facets of the game. He got steals. That one where he got the steal and then took it coast to coast and banged out like that. That was impressive. He had so many, good looks to Coloco and other guys in the paint, and then just finished every single shot that he needed to. We needed all 32 of those points, in that game. So, I'm just happy to see him back to, feeling good on the offensive side of things. I thought, he, like you said, he had a couple of down games, from the offensive side of things. And when he's, able to score those baskets and really being aggressive down low and from the top of the key and, on a defensive end, Arizona's their best team when he does that.
Yeah, final stat line: 32 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, 14 for 24 shooting from the field. Was just incredible stuff. And it's great to see him with his confidence back. Showing some emotion with the packed Zona Zoo crowd at the McCall Center. It's just great to see. But Christian Coloco had a great performance too. I mean, 16 points, 7 rebounds, 4 blocks, perfect from the field, 7 for 7. I thought he was excellent too. So do you really think that it seems like all year they've been the Arizona's front court has been the reliable piece. Do you think they can, get over the struggles that we talked about with the turnovers, the shooting, maybe if they're so dominant down low with Coloco and Zoo?
Well, I think that it's good to have both, and I think Tommy mentioned it. I think that's on the press conference after the game was like, you guys aren't shooting from from outside. What's the answer to that? It's get it down low. I mean, it's a luxury to have two guys that are that skilled and that confident and aggressive on the offensive end to bail you out of situations like that. Now we're going to need 3-point shooting for sure to make a deep run, through the Pac-12 and into the tournament. A lot of times that's a game changer for it, but to have those two guys down there that play so well together, you know what I mean, and the high-low action and the way that they position themselves and know that when each other's open, they're able to facilitate easy baskets. It's really like when teams are going on runs and stuff, we know that we can get it inside. Usually, it either get fouled where Coloco's having a heck of a year from the free throw line, knocking down his shots when he gets fouled and being more aggressive down there, and then to be able to score easy baskets, whether dunks or lobs or layups or whatever it is. It's just a good thing to have that we have two of those guys that are so consistent and able to do that. And I think the 3-point shooting will come around. We've been saying that all year. We've kind of been up and down with that. Some games good, some games bad. But I think that'll come around as the year progresses. But we're taking good shots. Some of them just aren't going in. You're going to have that some nights. You got to have other ways to win, and we've been able to, win in other ways when we need to.
Yeah, Tommy Lloyd said after the game that they're excited to go on this road trip, 3-game road trip this week. They're playing Thursday night at Stanford. Then they're playing on Sunday against Cal, and then on Tuesday at UCLA. So 3 games in a short period of time. And I think it's going to be a great test for this team to hopefully maybe if all 3 of these aren't close games, maybe 2 of them come down to the wire, just so that this team could get that feel for when it matters, when there's not a lot of time left. Because Arizona's had a few games, the Michigan game in Vegas, Illinois game, and then the Tennessee game where they lost. But how do you think they'll handle this mini road trip over this next week?
I think, like Coach Lloyd said, I'm sure they're excited about it because it's a challenge for them. It's coming at the right point of the season, I think, for them to really test themselves in tough environments, and I think it'll be good for them. And whether or not we come out of there 3-0, that would be great. But it could easily not be that way, and so I think just the style of play that we play is going to travel well. I think that, we're going to have a good opportunity to show everybody in the country again, what we're made of. And if we can, get 3 wins, that's going to be, a heck of a statement to everybody, across the nation. But I think it's just a good opportunity for them to go on the road, play some tough challenges, rivalry games and just really see where we're at this point. We've had some tough games. Even the Colorado Utah game weren't easy games. I mean, we've had some games this year where we just blow the doors off everybody early on, and and we're done with it. But these have been struggles, even though we won by a good amount of points. They've still been struggles within the games, and so we've been able to overcome those. Now we'll get a chance to go on the road and do that a little bit more.
Yeah, I lost you there for a sec, AJ. But yeah, do you think that national, people that cover the sport will soon and hopefully give Arizona the praise that they deserve? And as we mentioned earlier, they're the number 3 team in the country, and it just seems like people don't talk enough about, how great Matherin has done year 2, Tabellis, Coloco. Do you think they'll get some more praise throughout the college basketball world?
They should. I mean, we should at this point for the season that we've had. I think I was watching, a post game show, a college basketball post game show the other night, and they were giving Arizona a little bit of praise. And I think Reese Davis was, talking about, oh well, the Pac-12 is not that good, and you know what I mean. Like, there's not that many good teams besides, UCLA and USC who aren't playing that well right now, and they seem like they try to downplay, everything that we're doing, but that's fine. You know what I mean? Like we need to do is just keep chugging along, keep progressing, keep getting better. And the only thing that matters is in March, March, April, when,
That's what I
go
was
to
gonna
that
say.
tournament. That's when you get your respect. So up until then, this is great. We're number 3 in the country. I mean, coming from unranked to number 3 in the country at this point of the season is more than anybody could ask for as an Arizona fan. And so, now we just got to keep it going, man, and just keep building, try to get better at something every game, and then just see where we go. But I think we got a good opportunity to have a hell of a season the rest of the way.
Yeah, AJ, I agree. Yeah, when March Madness rolls around, people will see how great this team is, and they'll be even better by then. I mean, that's over 2 months away at this point. So a lot of things can change, but tell us who we have a great guest today on the program. Tell us who it is.
Absolutely, man. Well, my brother, one of my other big brothers from when I first started there to Arizona, and now is a media star in the college basketball world. Mr. Corey Williams will be joining us next. It's going to be a fun one. Move on to the next topic. Let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with Bet Rivers yet, now's the time, because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Play Instant Approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With basketball season tipping off, get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Here we go. I'd like to welcome in my guy. Let me get all this right. Let me give you a real lead in, okay? Let me give you a real lead in. All right, out of Batavia, Illinois, the all-time leading scorer at Batavia High School, Tucson community icon, member of the 1994 Wildcat Final Four team, and media star. So, I mean, you crossed it over. My man goes by at College Corey on social media. So, let me welcome in my man, C-Dub, Corey Williams, man. How's it going, my brother?
Man, it's going great, man. I'm glad to be here. Obviously kicking it with you, catching up with you. So I'm excited. College basketball is going, so I'm happy.
Yeah, man. I mean, you've been doing a heck of a job, brother. For years now, and we'll get into kind of your story a little bit later. But I know you did the Colorado game the other night, in Arizona, and just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that, on this year's team, kind of Tommy Lloyd, and what you think about the guys that are on the team this year and how they're playing so far.
Well, the first thing that I noticed about this year's team was they actually defend, and they don't just kind of stand in front of you and hope you don't score. They deny the ball all the way out to the 3-point line. They're trying to get steals in full court. They're rotating over and taking charges. They're coming over and rotating and blocking people's shots as second and third line defenders. Like, I really have been impressed with how much they enjoy playing defense. And when you talk about college basketball, as you well know, those couple of steals and those layups and those sometimes that 6 to 8 points is the difference in the game. So I'm really excited about the team. And when I look at them, the depth that they have. Tommy plays 8, 9 deep, and he subs them in like platoon style, 2, 3 at a time. So everybody knows that they've got to contribute. Everybody knows that they're going to get some burn. So when you have that mentality, it's hard on the other teams because you got a coach who's maybe got a 6, 7-man rotation, and Tommy's sending 9 people at you, and he's keeping them fresh the whole game. So they wear you down. They really turn you over, and they wear you down.
What's your thoughts on the job that Tommy's done so far this year with this team?
I got to be honest, man. I did not have the bar set very high. There's a big difference from coaching when you move 18 inches over from that assistant spot to the head coach spot. It's a world of difference. Unless you're Joseph Blair, who just won his first NBA game today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Coaching for the Wizards. So I'm excited about JB. It's nothing to us. You know, we do the coaching thing in the NBA. You know, but seriously, sometimes you wonder if if an assistant is going to make a good head coach. But Tommy's gotten them to play defense. He's gotten them to be selfless with the ball. Everybody touches. And they're running some really, and I may get in some trouble here, they're running some really good stuff, but it's real simple. Like guys from our era would have locked it down. Like, I don't understand. No, I'm serious, man. It's like, AJ, you know, you setting a screen with a 5 that can't shoot. Why are we not just pushing that up and going under until you hit a 3? But in college, everybody's hedging on dribble handoffs and ball screens, and Colo and everybody's just running down the lane for dunks. And as I'm doing the game, I'm sitting there thinking, when are they going to figure this out? Like, this is not that hard to stop, but it is real effective for Arizona. They get the 5s out, great motion offense. They got shooters out there, guys attacking the rim, and they're scoring the most points of anybody in the country right now.
Yeah, I mean, they're big to big passing. I mean, I know you like that too. I mean, they really look for each other. They have facilitate easy baskets for each other all game long. You know, Tubelis has been playing great. Coloco's made huge steps this year. What do you think the ceiling is for you right now? If you had to say what's your ceiling for AZ this year?
And this is a team that could easily win the first 4 games of the tournament. There's no question. If Lenardi has them on a 2 line or a 3 line, you know, they're going to be out west. They're going to have their first and second round games won't be that much of a test. And then when they get to those 3rd and 4th games, this is the team that if they're 8 or 9 deep and they're scoring the way that they score, there's no reason this can't be an Elite 8 Final Four team at best. I mean, you know, at the very least, I should say. This team should, you know, if they handle business on the road in the Pac-12, and who knows how things are going with these doggone postponements and games being rescheduled, but there's a good chance that, you know, they're in the driver's seat right now. I think 14-4 wins the conference this year. 15-3 definitely, but 14-4 is going to probably be first place. So they're on a good start on that path, provided everybody stays healthy. This is a team that can win the conference. Conference tournaments, I haven't heard much if they're on track or they're going to cancel them like they did last year. But, you know, Arizona's a team that could definitely end up Elite 8 or Final Four.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think they got all the ingredients this year. Just the landscape of college basketball are definitely one of the, you know, the top teams out there. It'll be fun to watch them progress. But let's go a little bit back now. Let's go back to when C-Dub was in college and it was a Wildcat at U of A. You know, you did your thing there. One thing I wanted to ask you about, you did your thing, man. You did your thing. One thing I want to ask you about, you played with like 2 of the most dynamic guards, in my opinion, to ever play in college basketball, with Damon and Lid at the same time. Like, and those dudes seem to be underrated, in my opinion, just in the history of college basketball and what they were as a tandem, and in the history of like at just Arizona basketball in general. Like, what was your like playing with them? Like, where do you see them like in the terms of the history of college of Arizona basketball? Like, where do they stand? Talk to me a little bit about that dynamic and those guys.
You know, I think when you look, they were closely followed by you guys who cut down the nets, and that Bibby Simon, you know, backcourt is going to be, it's legend, you know. And I think that Stott and Lid kind of laid the foundation for all the guards that came and followed, because no discredit to Steve Kerr, Matt Opic, Harvey Mason, guys that were playing the point before they got there. Kenny, oh my God, I'm forgetting his name now.
Kenny Lofton, man.
Kenny Lofton.
Yeah.
these guys, they were all solid point guards, but Damon and Lid took it to another level. And you got to remember, this is 1992, 93, 94. So all across the country, the Blue Bloods, the Michigan States, the UNLVs, the Dukes, the Arizonas, the UCLAs, the Syracuses, it was all the era of the big man. If you didn't have good bigs, you didn't win. It was simple. You had all those old school coaches. The recruiting battles were hot and heavy for talented guys, 6'10" and better. They anchored your team, and you rode those guys as far as they would take you. All the powerhouse teams in the 90s had quality NBA big men. So along come Damon and Khalid. Joseph Blair was young. Ray Owens was kind of unproven. And those were our bigs.
Yeah.
So coach kind of gave the keys of the car to Damon and to Damon and Lid, and it was like, is this going to work? Well, it's all we had in the kitchen. I mean, if you're hungry and you got to eat, and that's the only ingredients you got. I mean, you gotta roll with that. So now you've got two guys combining for nearly 50 points a night from the 1 and the 2 spot. Nobody else in college basketball was doing that. Nobody before them had even come close to doing that. And it wasn't just, oh, they're scoring 50 points a night against, subpar. No, they're dropping 50 on UCLA. They dropped 50 on Kentucky. They dropped 50 on Cincinnati. It didn't matter who we played. Those two guys weren't going to be stopped. And playing with them, there was a lot of stuff you didn't have to worry about. Didn't have to worry about bringing the ball up the floor, just inbound it to them. If y'all want to try to press and take the ball from Damon, yeah, good luck with that. We're going to go down here and wait on him to drive past 3 people, and I'm going to shoot wide open threes. I mean, that was the one-man press break. The open looks you got because coaches tried to double team and box and one. I mean, everybody else's field goal percentage went up. You sometimes would get a pass and there'd be nobody around you, because they were so focused on trying to stop those guys. That was one of the things I noticed was the quality of looks. No disrespect to Reggie Gary, my senior year, but the looks wasn't as good.
They weren't as tasty as looks, man.
Yeah, the shot that David Stoudemire says, I could take my time, look for my mama in the crowd, and then rotate and let it go. But, that was one of the luxuries of playing with a great guard. And then lastly, you played on that 97 team where you guys had so much firepower and you guys would blow people out or get wins. And AJ, you could run rim to rim, 3, 4, 5 possessions in a row and never really touch the ball.
Oh, yeah.
Because there were so many people putting in work. It was like, when it was your turn, it was your turn.
Right.
But that was the thing with Damon and Lid. It was the same thing. I'd inbound the ball and I'm trailing, and Sty hit him with an inside-out pull-up, and all of a sudden he started jogging back to me, and I'm like, damn, I ain't even get to half court. Like, you could take entire possessions off with those guys on the court. So, it was just, like I said, great spacing. You got good assists. You didn't have to worry about the ball handling. They shouldered a lot of the offensive weight. And, God forbid you miss a wide open shot, because the crowd and everybody on the team is like, well, he should have just shot it himself. If you're going to miss a wide open shot, well, I should have took. And Sty used to tell us that, man, like, hey, man, when I kick you to rock,
you got to make that, man.
Because coach looking at me like, shoot it. And I'm like, no, Doug was open. So you got to get my back. You got to make it. So it's an honor. It's an honor to get a penetration kick from a future lottery pick. Don't mess that up. Don't mess it up. You know what that's like.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah, when they let it go, you got to make something happen. They throw it to you in the post, and you're only supposed to throw it back out when you double. Other than that, they expect you to take it to the rack.
Work. That's right. Yeah, so it had to be a great experience, and then led carried on to the NBA that next year. And then you were part of 2 Pac-10 championship teams, and you were there, Sweet 16, and also the 1994 team. And talk about that run a little bit, about that season, because that really set the the foundation for when JT and I came in the next year and what the expectations were. I mean, Arizona as a brand was sky high. You guys have done your thing, and really we came in like, man, we're coming into something that's really special and really high level at the college basketball level. And so, like, talk to me a little bit about that season, because I've always been interested in what that team was like because I didn't get to really watch that inside before I got there.
Yeah, and it was weird because when I showed up in '92, we had Chris Mills and we had Ed Stokes and we had a lot of bigs, and Arizona had this real corporate feel to it. It's like where you went to go to the league. Like, you just wait your turn. You're a freshman, Chris Mills is a senior. Eventually, you're going to be the small forward at Arizona, and all the small forwards at Arizona go to the league. So just learn from coach, lift weights, get better, and that'll be you in 4 years. So when I got there, there were so many dudes worried about going to the league. Our whole team was worried about going to the league and what it took to get to the pros. And like almost like the regular season was an inconvenience. It was like a dress rehearsal for the tournament and you making your push in front of the NBA scouts. I remember coming to games freshman and sophomore year, there were 16, 17 scouts at every home game. So it was crazy, but coach had control of that team, give it inside. If you're not double teamed, kick it back out. Guards can shoot when you're open. Well, 94, 95, we didn't have that feel. It wasn't that structured, dominant ball inside all the time offense. Right. So it was the fun. It was fun. And I was in both. I was in 92, 93, and I was on 93, 94. And 93, 94 didn't feel anything like the other one because we were like, so let me get this straight. We get a stop. I kick it up. Star dribbles and passes to me in the corner. I can shoot that? Coach like, yeah, you shoot that. And so all of a sudden it became the sexy school, the fun way to play. And I know it helped in recruiting because look at all the guys we landed as a result of that success. I mean, getting Jason Terry out of Seattle, getting guys, we could literally go in any city and get anybody because everybody knew the backcourt scores, the big men get touches, and it was a fun place to play. And Coach O got a lot of credit for adapting the program to the talent. And I think since then, that's all coaches do now is they look at who they have, then they figure out their system. But it was definitely night and day in terms of control and the amount of fun that we had between the 2 years.
Yeah, and I think that set the foundation for the way that we played. I mean, because, we really had no structure. We played a motion offense. We set some screens to try to get threes, thrown to the corner over the top. But besides that, it was motion. It was all read and react. It was, there wasn't really any set structure to it, to how we played. That was hard to guard. It's hard for other teams to prepare for you when you have that style of play because there's no set. This guy's coming off a down screen. He's coming over here. There's none of that. It's just your high level IQ basketball players like you were. And like, I think that Coach O always recruited guys that had a good basketball IQ, that could pick things up quickly and change on the fly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I agree with you 100%. I tell people all the time, like when you came to Arizona, there was only one way to play basketball. Either you learned it or you didn't. It was like, don't try to split a trap on the dribble. Don't try to dribble through a double team.
Right.
Now, I don't know if it's going to take you 1 or 2 years to figure that out, but until you do, you're on the bench. Stay on your feet. Don't go up for block shots and draw fouls. How long is it going to take you to learn that? When you penetrate and they rotate, hit the open man in the corner. That's a rule. It doesn't care. He didn't care how you felt that day, whether you had made your last 3 in a row. Right. No, this is the smart play. So when Coach O was sharing the basketball Bible with all of us, it was like, I know you can play, but these are the basics and the foundations of basketball. You're going to do these things at Arizona. You get to the league, that's different. But here, we all had the same rules, double team in the post, how to rotate, who's open, do's and don'ts of basketball. And, if you grasp those rules, then he just kind of opened it up. Okay, you guys know how to play, so go play. Right. And that was the thing. And, you're talking about your team was loaded with, I don't know how many NBA players, how many all-conference guys, like All-Americans, I always tell people, you can't stockpile 6 or 7 All-Americans on a team like you used to. Yeah. Those days are over. But to have only one ball between Miles Simon, Mike Dickerson, Jason Terry, Jesus Christ, it was amazing. But everybody played with basketball rules. Miles, I used to laugh. He would dribble to the lane, do his hop step in the middle, and shoot his floater. Yeah. And me and Mike D, we used to send that back at him in practice. But he was getting away with it in the championship. I was like, hey, they're going to win. I was like, they're going to win the championship. Miles cannot be stopped. I was like, this is crazy. This stuff would never fly in practice because how competitive practice was. Yeah. Well, y'all was dropping people off, and I was like, yeah, that's AJ one-on-one on the block. That's jump hook. We would double that. Me and Jarvis would come over there. So we would do something. And I'm sitting there watching y'all beat people, and it felt so good. I'm watching y'all win games with the same stuff I witnessed up close and personal. The same guys. Like, this is that's good. That's money. That's Mike D from the corner. He gonna hit that. I didn't get a chance to play with Mike Bibby, but the rest of you guys, man, I knew your games. I knew your strength. I knew how good you were. And it was funny to watch you guys just go through people, and then they never could stop you. And I was like, wow, those guys were ready, you know?
Well, that came from us, playing against y'all though. I mean, the year before, you know what I mean? Because that year, I mean, JT and I were freshmen that year, so we were new to the whole thing. But
Yep.
Miles and Mike D had been there for a little bit and kind of, taking their lumps and growing as players. And really, that team was interesting. I mean, obviously, I think we would have had a chance to win it if JB, had stayed eligible that year. And that didn't happen. We would have had a chance to win the whole thing, at least go to the Final Four for sure, because we almost made it anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, every team I played on was better than the 94 team.
Yeah.
That's crazy. My freshman year team, we won 19 games in a row. We were second in the country. We would have smashed the 94 team.
Right.
Our team wouldn't have had an answer for Ed Stokes and Chris Mills. As good as Reggie Gary was at the four, Reggie couldn't guard Chris.
Right.
And then in 94, 95, we had you guys on the team. We had Ben, we had JB, we were so deep, we would have beat the 94 team. My senior year team would have beat the 94 team. So it's like, and then you guys, when you pushed through, guys won it in 97, we were like, that's just Arizona continually knocking at the door. We put 8 years of just top 5 team in the country out there for 8 years. And you guys broke through, but the teams after you and a few teams before all had their potential, but you guys were able to put that magic together, and that was awesome.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. But one game I want to ask you about, this is my first month of college basketball, my first year there, freshman year. They had a similar kind of season. We had a similar kind of season to the guys this year where we weren't ranked. And then we went from not being ranked to like number 3 in the country, pretty quickly. And the game that I want to get your thoughts about was the Georgetown game in the Garden against AI. I just want to hear more breakdown of that game, because I was looking around like, man, this is crazy. Like, I'm in Madison Square Garden playing against AI. I'm like, I made the right choice. I made the right choice.
I'm telling you, I've been in those situations before. My freshman year, we played USC at the Forum. And it's like the Magic Johnson and everybody's there, and the Laker logo on the court. And I'm like looking like, man, I can't, this is a little bit too much. Then all of a sudden, coach was like, Corey, go in. I was like, are you sure? Because this is an NBA court. It's, Harold Miner, Chris Mills. I'm like, and when you're there, the moments are big. And then you look at the upperclassmen and you look at how calm they are. Because they were 3 years ago. They're like, man, come on out here. It's us. You a freshman, but you with us. So come on. And it was the same thing. We go to the Garden, and we weren't even like, man, we don't care about the Garden. We don't care about the NIT. We care about the fact that Sports Illustrated did not even rank us this year. We got Reggie Gary, who coming out of high school. Corey Williams was 3rd team All-American. Joe McClain, Joseph Blair, Ben Davis. We got you. We got Jay. Like, we got a whip, and y'all didn't rank us, so we're just like, let's play. Let's go ahead and jump it up. And so, y'all got AI. And here's the crazy thing. It's like, it's going to take 80 points to beat us.
Oh, yeah.
Even if he get 40, it's going to take 80 to beat us. Yeah. So we was like, okay, Miles, stay in front of him as much as you can, and then we'll try to help out. But at the end of the day, we felt like, we'll trade baskets with Georgetown, but the 4 of us, we'll beat that one cat all day. And so when we came out of that, we won. I think for us, we had taken our lumps, and we had gotten beat by, Santa Clara, and we had gotten beat in the first round against Miami of Ohio. So we were just done with it all, man. We just wanted to get out there and get some respect. And, obviously Allen Iverson was an NBA legend, and he got his 40 points. But for us, being at the Garden, the only game on national television, everybody watched Arizona knock off Georgetown. The respect came after that. And it was a good win for us that season. It held us down for a long time.
What I remember most about that game is when AI drove baseline and Reg came and beat his shot into the 10th row and said, no. I just remember that. I was like, yeah, Reg.
That's what, Reg was our leader. Reg was that cocky, arrogant SOB who didn't care, and he enjoyed that. And a lot of times, like, Reggie would talk the trash that I had to back up, or Ben had to back it up, or JB would get a block, and Reggie would come down there and give him a high five. That's weak, dog. Tell him to get it up out of here.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Now Wallace in Syracuse, like, pipe down, one play. But Reggie would talk trash for you. He was talking trash to Jalen Rose when we played him in 94. Like, he did not care. And you need a guy like that, a guy that says, guys, this is the level I'm on, get with me. And, that was a heck of a play. I remember Iverson came baseline. This just blew my mind. He beat Miles and came baseline. And I jumped because I thought he was going to go ahead and shoot it. This guy comes on the reverse and goes up under the rim and looks me right in my face, turns his back on me and dunks it. And everybody's like, oh, you got dunked on by AI. And I'm like, not really. Because it was the rim, him, and I was behind him. So, but
that's like when John Starks dunked on Michael Jordan. Like, did that really happen? I don't know.
He was in the air, he was in the picture. But yeah, he was such an amazing player. And the one thing that what I remember about that game is when you have a system and the other guy don't, you'd be so jealous. He'd come down and one-on-one, in and out, throw up a three, and he'll make it, and you'll look at coach, and coach be like, get on him. And the player in you wants to get back at him.
Yeah.
But you play in Arizona, you can't. You got to run the set. And it's just like, that was torture playing against him, because he can do whatever he wanted, the green light, and then, you have to come down and play team ball. But it's funny, though, I got into it with Patrick Ewing, and the conversation went left real quick. I was in Anaheim doing the Wooden Legacy in Georgetown this year. So we're talking this and that. And he says, I said, yeah, we played Georgetown once. And I was kind of when they came out the tunnel, I was telling Patrick, I said, man, I watched Georgetown basketball growing up, like Big East, Syracuse, Georgetown. So the kid in me was like, oh, snaps, that's Georgetown. And I was a little intimidated. But once we started playing, when did y'all play Georgetown? I said, 96. At the Garden. And, Ewing was in the league in 96 at the Garden. So he's going through his brain like, I wonder where I was. I was like, I don't know. So he goes, well, we must have been on the road, because I wouldn't have missed my alma mater playing in the Garden. I'm a New York guy. So he says, I don't know. And he goes, let me ask you something. I said, what? He goes, you're a Chicago guy. I said, well, kind of suburbs. He goes, why are you Chicago guys coming all out west? He said, you was too soft to play in the Big East or the Big Ten. What are you doing, a Chicago guy? What you doing in Arizona? And I said, oh, we got jokes. I said, well, I don't know where you were when we played Georgetown, but A, we won, and B, I'm sure Mike was somewhere dropping 40 on your head around that time too. So as far as Chicago and you go, I think you need to pipe down when you start talking about Chicago, okay? And he looked at me, he couldn't do nothing but laugh, because I got him. I said, you were talking about Chicago? Do you really want to talk about Chicago? 96? Who's soft and who's not? Okay, man, whatever. But we had a good laugh, and I told him one thing, man. I said, look here, man, you the first pair of shoes I ever wore when I was in 7th grade. My mama bought me the Adidas Ewings. Yeah. I used to rock them joints. I was averaging like 38 points a game in 7th grade. And it was the best of both worlds. It was Patrick Ewing, who I kind of looked like back then. And it was the Run DMC. Adidas was hot at the time. See, this is before your time. We talking 80, 86, 87.
Yeah.
So the Ewing Adidas, you ask old heads like me, the Ewing Adidas was the shoe you needed. Before all the Air Jordan junk, you had to get the Ewing Adidas. Whether you was just wearing them and didn't hoop, or you was hooping, that was the shoe.
I remember those Ewings, man. I remember those. Yeah. Way to stand up for that Chi-Town hoop, though. You couldn't say
had to, man. Had to. You gotta talk bad about us like that, Not at all. Not at all.
That's good, man. Let's jump into Coach O, man. And then I just want to get your thoughts on Coach Olsen and your relationship with him, and just break it down for me. Like you had a really unique relationship with Coach, so just want to get your thoughts on that.
Coach O taught me so much about basketball, and looking back on it, Coach O taught me so much about life and who I was as a player when I got there, what his expectations were for me. And I'm going to be all over the place a little bit, but I'll wrap it all up for you. But when I got there, I was heavily recruited. There were high expectations. I was supposed to come in and move Chris Mills to the 4 and start as a small forward position as a freshman. Talented 6'7" guy out of Batavia, ball handler, one of the best small forwards in the country, going to take Chris Mills' spot. Well, That didn't work. I got to Arizona. I had no defensive IQ. I was really starting from scratch. I still had the offensive skills. And coach, I used to get buckets in practice all day, but I'd get caught on screens. I'd get beat. I'd get backdoored. I couldn't box out. I had to get in the weight room. And Coach Joe told me, he said, until you can play defense at the level I need you to play, I don't care what you can do on offense. This is defense first. And I was super frustrated. This guy, it's a brick wall. I've run into Arizona. I think I want to transfer. This guy's my way or the highway. He's just totally discrediting my offensive game because he wants me to defend and rebound, blah, blah, blah. So freshman year was a disaster. Played 1.9 minutes a game, pretty much invisible. Sophomore year, made some progress. Coach leaned on me. I started getting in games. We go to the Final Four. I have a big game there. But what Coach O taught me during those 2 or 3 years right there was we all live in and work in a system, in a community or whatever. And one of the things I learned, and it served me pretty well the last 25 years, is in life, you have to find out what your superiors need and want from you. And once you find that out, you have to give them what they want before you can get what you want. That's the only way it works. And it was one of the hardest lessons I had to learn in life. I'm like, man, this guy want me to go out here, lock somebody up and grab 6 rebounds. Then I get to shoot threes. Then I get to go one-on-one. And I said, finally, I was like, you know what? And I credit my dad a lot because he said transferring is not an option. All those other guys played Arizona and they end up going to the NBA. You're going to stick it out. You chose that school. You're going to finish at that school. So now I'm between a rock and a hard place. Yeah. My dad is 5 Coach O's. Playing for Coach O was a breeze compared to my dad. So I'm stuck between my pops and Coach O, and both of them ain't budging. So what happened is I grew. I got strong. I learned how to do the things he wanted. So then I got on the court. So by the time you guys showed up, I'm a junior. I'm like, my D is good. I know I can guard anybody from the 2 to the 5. I'm straight. I know the schemes. I know everything. And my progress was solid. And so Coach O never gave me anything. He was willing to let an All-American rot on the bench until I did what he needed, what the program needed, what the team needed. So that was a very humbling experience. And the last thing I'll say is, my senior year, we had really done well, and I get invited to the Desert Classic, which at the time was the top 40 seniors in the country. So my career goes full circle. I'm one of the top 30 seniors out of high school, and then I just disappear into the Arizona program. And 4 years later, I resurface as one of the top 40 seniors. All that progress, all that development was real. Coach never gave me anything. So the Desert Classic was held up in Phoenix, and Coach O was tight with some of the guys. I know the Phoenix Suns were lightly involved with the organizing of it with the NBA. So couple days before we played Kansas in the tournament, I get an invite to the Desert Classic. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. Because I knew JB was probably going to the league. Ben was going to the league. Right. Reggie was going to the league. You know, Joel probably wasn't. But I thought I had a chance to maybe play overseas. I had kind of put it in my head that, all right, season's over. I'm going to get an agent and go play overseas. So I get the letter that I'm one of the top 40 seniors. And I look at that list of people that were there. Some pretty impressive names in that 96 draft. So we lose to Kansas, and I'm heartbroken or whatever. And we're at baggage claim. And Coach O walks over to me, and I'll never forget this. He comes up to me and says, Corey, I want to talk to you. I said, yeah. He goes, can't tell you how proud I am of you being picked to go to the Desert Classic. And I'm looking at him like, what are you talking about? Like, this is Arizona. It's in Phoenix. You're friends with Van Arsdale. Like, I know you made a call to hook me up and get me in there, you know, because I'm close. And he goes, I just want you to know I had nothing to do with that. I just found out earlier today. And he made it a point to tell me that he didn't pull any strings, that achievement was my own and that he was proud of me. First time Coach O ever told me he was proud of me. And the one thing you know about Coach O is he never lied.
No, never.
Never lied.
Never,
so if
never.
he told me I didn't make a call, I know he didn't make a call.
Right.
And at that moment, it was really our relationship came full circle from this young guy who's talented, but he's kind of soft. He's not aggressive. He's not motivated. I'm not going to bench him. I'm going to stick with him. There were weeks where Coach turned his back on me and just said, you remember them weeks where you were invisible because you wasn't with the program.
Right.
So we started and he said, I need you to meet me here. And he never lowered that for me. He never lowered it for me. And I'm so grateful that he never did, because my senior year, when I got there the way he wanted me to get there, I was a complete enough player where I played pro ball for another 12 years.
Yeah.
And I'm always grateful to Coach O, and I'm, obviously my father. I was at a formative time in my life. I was around two men who did not compromise. So basketball wasn't difficult for me. Right. Life hasn't been difficult for me because I was around two men who said, there's the goal. You go do it. Every day you take small steps towards the goal. Yeah, do I have ups and downs and good days and bad days? Of course. But mentally, I know that if you do the work, the results will show up because I've actually lived it. I've been forced to live that. Quitting has never been an option to me, thanks to my father and thanks to Coach O. And Coach O is like, everybody got these slogans now, trust the process and all that. They done tried to remix some old Coach O stuff. And they really knew, Coach O was like, he used to tell people, this is Arizona. And it's 3 words, but it would take 1,000 words to explain what that means.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
We're a tie because this is Arizona.
Yeah.
Rotate and help your teammate. This is Arizona.
Right.
Pass to the open man. This is Arizona. It means so much. And that's the beauty of our relationship and anybody who ever played for that man. There is a knowledge base we all share. And I tell people all the time when I'm doing games, it's like, oh, you're so good at doing games. So all I'm doing is repeating the stuff Coach O used to yell at me. Everything he ever yelled at me, I'd be like, that's not a good pass. That's a nice move. Play. You really break the game down because Coach O broke the game down.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's
it's
good.
Not hard.
Let me, so speaking of that, the things that Coach O taught you and, how you've translated that into your life, I just want to talk to you a little bit about the Tucson Summer Pro League, man, and what you've done with that. Try to give everybody just a little bit of history of that and where it's going, in the upcoming year, after COVID, and just really what it's done. I've had an opportunity to play in it. It's been a wonderful experience for everybody there in Tucson, and you've expanded it to Phoenix as well. But just kind of talk to me about that impact, because I coach my sons, youth team. I'm involved in AAU basketball and youth development here in Albuquerque, and anyone that does that and puts their passion into that, I really respect. And so just wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of talk about that platform and what's upcoming for you with in terms of the Tucson Summer Pro League, my man.
Well, I'm from an era, and I think it still holds true, but it's a little different now. But basketball players are made in the summer. You don't really get better during the winter or the fall because the season's happening and you're playing. But the real leap, and to your credit, you probably have gotten one of the biggest compliments I've ever heard from Coach O. He had never seen a player gain as much ground and make as much development as AJ Bramlett between your freshman and sophomore year. When you showed up your sophomore year, we was like, that's AJ?
Yeah.
And you had parts in your game. You had the fadeaway, you had the jump hook, you could pick and pop. And Coach O and all of us were like, damn, AJ's been in the gym. This is not even the guy that was here 4 months ago. So we all go home for the summer. You come back in the fall. We like, what is going on with AJ? The way you picked up your game. So the fact that basketball players are made in the summer, and when I was overseas, we would all try to organize and get together and get a good run so we could stay sharp during the summer. So that was the origin of the Tucson Summer Pro League. And then, of course, it being in Tucson, you had 300-400 fans coming to every game to watch, the legends of Arizona basketball kind of stay in shape during the summer. Well, that was 2004, so it's 17 years ago that we've been going. We took it, obviously 2020, and last summer we didn't have the league. We're going to be back this summer. But my philosophy with the Pro League has changed. It was a way for the NBA guys and the overseas guys to stay in shape and get together and have fun, and a way to engage the community. But as basketball began to change, college guys don't play a whole lot of summer hoops. They may play at the very big leagues, like the Drew League and stuff like that. But the era of the local pro-am has kind of died off. but the local guys here in Tucson enjoy coming out. So now it's more of a community event. The guys that are in it, the adult players are the local stars, the local guys, they enjoy it. They bring their families out. We got a great group of sponsors. And then, of course, about 6 or 7 years ago, we started the Kids League. Yeah. Now, the Kids League is really where I put a lot of my concentration, because I'm a firm believer in kids need to enjoy basketball, because what happens is, as it begins to get more and more competitive, the joy gets less and less. And that's normal, because when it's fun and you're playing with your friends and there's not pressure, but as you get better and you face better competition and more strict coaching and more, difficult circumstances, sometimes the joy of the game can leave a kid. Right. And you've seen it and I've seen it where kids just don't like playing anymore. It's either it's too hard, or they got a coach that isn't that good or doesn't know what they're doing, or they're rubbing the kid the wrong way. But what I firmly believe, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is if you can make a kid fall in love with basketball, the love will see them through the tough times and they won't leave the sport.
Yeah.
If you make them fall in love with it young, they can survive a bad coach or a bad season or bounce back from an injury. Most kids quit hoops when they don't love it no more.
Yeah.
So my goal with the kids is I want to make it as fun as possible, because if you love the game, you'll keep at it. The kids that quit, it's easy to quit something you don't love. But when you wake up and think about it and you enjoy it, and you see, I remember when you see yourself having a little bit of progress, that kid knows, I'm a different player today than I was yesterday. I had a young girl, she had never played basketball before. Her mom came, little girl, she wore goggles. She'd never played a lick of basketball in her life. Her mother says, these girls are all better than her. The boys are better than her. I'm so scared. I says, ma'am, she'll be fine. So I came and I said, Kaylee, today, all I want you to do is play good defense. And she ran around and played good defense. And so lo and behold, the ball bounced in her hands and she got a steal. She said, Coach, I got a steal. I said, Kaylee, you know what I want you to see if you can do today? I want to see if you can get a rebound. Just run up under the basket. You're nice and tall. Try to grab one. Coach, I got a rebound. Now, her talent was so far behind everybody else. But in her world, she was making steps. So by the end of the summer, this girl had made a free throw. She had a rebound. She got steals. She's like, Coach, I've done everything all summer. I want to score a bucket. So first beginning of the game, we were running ISOs for Kaylee, trying to get her a bucket. And her mother was like, all she talks about is basketball now. She's having so much fun. She was by far not the best player in the league. Right. But she enjoyed, basketball, there's something you can take from it. And we made sure that she enjoyed it at the level she was on, and the other kids enjoyed it at the level they were on. And I don't know how many of them will play high school or college or pro, but I know my memories of playing in the playground in the park in the 80s are what got me through some of them 3-hour practices with Lou. I know it was, because there was no other reason for me to be there. This man is crazy. We should have stopped an hour ago. I'm tired. I don't want to be here, but it's all I knew, and I love the game. So trying to get kids to fall in love with basketball, that's my goal. I'm not trying to, raise the next, what they call, I'm not trying to be the next Ball brothers. I'm not trying to ain't trying to do all that big baller brand. I don't care what these kids do. I want them to enjoy themselves and have some great memories, because like with all sports, you never know when it's going to be gone, and that's going to be your last opportunity. So try to let them have fun.
Well, look, man, you've been doing a heck of a job, man. Impacting the community, impacting youth, and anybody that is able to do the things that you've done. And I try to follow, the same footsteps. Is you never know when that little spark is gonna, really affect a kid's life and push them in a direction. It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't mean they're gonna play high school basketball or college basketball, but just give them that little bit of joy inside and confidence inside that they can, succeed at something. As little as getting a rebound, as little as making a shot. It's just it can propel them so much further in their lives by participating in the game that we all love. So I just want to thank you for that, man. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Like I said, I get something out of it too, man. I love going in that gym, and the kids keep me young, and I'm an older guy now. So my Saturdays, I can either sit around and do nothing, or I can go down and have some fun with the kids and laugh and smile. And it's always a better option to go be around those young people. They keep you young, man. They really do.
Absolutely, man. Well, C-Dub, hey, look, man, I appreciate you taking your time today. I want to get you back on, brother. This was fun. I give you your wealth of knowledge in basketball. I want to congratulate you on your media career as well. You know, you've been doing a heck of a job at that. I can't believe you've been in it like 10 years now almost.
Yeah, like that. Sean Miller's first year is when I started doing sideline stuff with Dave Sitton.
Yeah.
So, 2012, maybe. Yeah, it's been almost 10 years.
Amazing, man. So just keep doing what you're doing. Much success to you, my brother.
All right.
I appreciate you, man.
Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.
All right, Dub.